Yo guys, what's up? This is David Bond, and I wanted to do a quick video addressing a common criticism that I receive, and it basically goes like this.
You only are there because you can't get white women.
Or something like,
He's only with that girl because he can't get white girls.
and essentially the criticism is that I'm with who I'm with, or I am where I am because I can't get white girls. Now, this to me is a little bit odd of an insult, given that I'm not very attracted to white girls. So it would be a little bit like trying to insult someone eating a steak by telling them, you're only eating that steak because you can't eat dirt. Well, yeah, that's why I'm eating a steak. I don't want to eat dirt. Not really an insult if you're not interested in eating dirt, right? So I'm never really insulted by this. But what I want to talk about is the hidden premises behind the insult. So for someone to insult you by saying you only have what you have because you can't get something else, well, something else always has to be superior. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be an insult, right? So imagine if someone were to say, the only reason you live in a one-story house is because you couldn't live in a three-story house. Well, that's only an insult if we all assume that a three-story house is better than a one-story house. And that's why it would be really bizarre if someone were to insult you by saying, the only reason you live in a mansion is because you can't live in a shack. What? Is that an insult? I don't understand. I mean, the whole idea behind this insult is that the thing you can't get is assumed to be superior. So the reason that I bring this up is what the person's really doing is essentially advocating the idea that white people are the superior race. And I know this sounds bizarre, but really think about it. When someone tells me, David, the only reason you're with this girl is because you couldn't get a white girl. Or they'll say, oh, I know why you went to that country. It's because you failed with white women. Well, the premise is that white women are better than the others, which in a way is the literal definition of white supremacy, which is that you believe the white race is supreme. So this is why when people say this to me, I always think it's so weird that they're confessing their white supremacy to me as an insult. Now, imagine if someone were to go up to a guy with a white girl and says, wow, you're only with her because you couldn't get an Indian girl. Well, again, wouldn't this insult only work if everyone involved assumed or believed that Indian women are somehow better than the white women that you're with or whatever? The insult only works if both parties assume that the thing that the person's accusing the other of not being able to acquire is better. So it's really, really strange when you think of it this way, because this insult is extremely popular. This is a huge, big criticism that people receive when they date specific races. And I think it's just kind of gross and really sad. Now, some of you might be saying, well, David, what they really mean is getting a white girl is harder than getting other girls. So the insult is really that you're lazy, or the insult is that, well, you're only going for the easy ones. And that's essentially what the insult is. And let's jump into that, because that is equally problematic. As much as I don't want to use that word, let's kind of go into that, because essentially the criticism is premised on this idea that going for something that's harder is more noble, or acquiring a girl that's harder to get is superior to getting one that is not as difficult to get. Now, the problem with this logic is, first of all, this idea that just because something is harder to get, that it's more worth getting, or that it's higher quality, or even that I even want it, or that we want it. So, for example, I'm pretty sure it would be harder to get a girl who's 80 years old. 80-year-old women are probably a lot harder to find. They're going to be less available. They're probably going to be in a wheelchair. I mean, there's all kinds of weird things that would actually go into the prospect of attracting and dating 80-year-old women. I think all of us can agree that that would be a very difficult thing. And I could probably go up to a bunch of guys and say, wow, you're only with that 22-year-old girl because you couldn't get grandmas. I mean, no one would accept that the fact that old ladies are harder to get is a reason that they're better or more noble. I mean, you guys kind of see my point. I mean, we could even go a step further, and I could say, you know, you only go for women who are free because you couldn't approach girls in prison. I'm pretty sure that women in prison are harder to date than girls outside of prison, but no one would say that that's a reason to be respected or be proud of the fact that you guys see my point here? So again, the whole idea behind this, oh, it's harder, therefore, is not really the reason. The reason kind of goes back to the first reason, where when someone says, oh, you couldn't get a white girl because they're harder to get, and it's not really that they're harder to get, it's that the person who's giving me this criticism is a white supremacist. And they're not going to admit that because they're just not going to. But the premise is, like, basically what they're saying is indirectly advocating the idea that the white race is superior. I mean, this is kind of a weird video for me to make. I'm saying the word white supremacist a lot, and it makes me uncomfortable, but this is what this criticism is. This criticism is literally white supremacists advocating white supremacy in the form of an insult directed at me. So anyway, yeah, so anytime someone in the comment section says something like, you couldn't get a white girl, or he only does this because he failed with white women, just remind them that they're a white supremacist and they probably should be quiet about their white supremacy. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to this very odd video. But as always, guys, leave a comment in the comment section. I love reading them. I read all of them. I read them every day. Don't forget to check out davidbondvideos.com. It's where you get to see all the spicy, yummy band videos, the stuff I can't put on YouTube. And don't forget to join the Discord server. The link is in the description. As always, take care, guys, and thanks for watching.